but I mean volleyball was ESPN Plus.
Ready?
Yeah.
Everybody ready? Yes, sir. Does everybody have a notebook or some sort of paper pen?
Yeah. And help with their schedule for next year or something.
Yes. Cool. All right. Awesome. We do have an exercise, so that's why I'm asking about that. This is a discussion about us as coaches, particularly focused on head coaching, but those of you who have aspirations of having your own program or might see yourself in a head coaching role, this is also for you. There's also some bits on co-coaching relationships in this, which is very important in coaching team environments, okay? What this isn't a deep dive into the rabbit hole of USA Rugby. We're not gonna fix the big picture issues in a 60-minute session. It's not our job. Our job is to take care of our environments, to plug into the global system and be really fucking good at what we do. Okay? We're not gonna go down rabbit holes. I won't go there. We know where the dumpster fires are. We know where the bodies are hidden, but we don't need to do that. That's not what this is about. This is about us, about who we are, where we come from, what we bring, and the challenges we face. This might trigger you. If you've been coaching for a while, or you're a new coach that doesn't feel very supported, some of these things, some of these concepts might hit you in places you didn't expect. I am basing this off of some new work with Cody Royal and Dr. Alex Auerbach. Cody wrote the Tough Stuff, the 7 Hard Truths of Being a Head Coach. We're going to talk about 5 of them because they are more contextual to a grassroots amateur level of coaching. The other top 2 are more professional. We can get into that if you want later, but for now we'll get into 5 of my favorites, is what we call them. They also started a podcast called The Unfair Advantage, and it's all about coach performance, coach wellness, coach welfare. They advocate for some things, we'll talk about that in here. I believe our performance is just as important as our players' performance. We talked a little bit about it earlier, that when the coach shows up, the coach has got to show up, right? And we'll talk about a few things. Some of these things were a bit mind-blowing to me when I first read them. It really got me thinking. I'm fortunate to be in many different environments with many different coaches, and none of the coaches I knew spoke the way some of this stuff is spoken. It's really interesting, okay? I won't build it up too much. Okay? I want to ask, what do you think this session's about, now that you've heard that? I'll kind of give it away, but.
Coach welfare.
Coach welfare.
Mental health.
A little bit of mental health, yep.
Connecting.
Connecting, yep, that's good.
Being consistent.
How to perform consistently, being, yeah. Well, thank you about that. Okay. Ostensibly, I hope that's a word, this is about keeping you in the game. Keeping us in the game. Everyone, we're gonna talk about burnout a little bit. Okay, I'll throw that out there. All of us will feel that either in work or life, coaching, professional, whatever it is, we'll feel that, okay? And if you feel very strongly about that, there's some help, right? There's some people, there's networks and all that stuff, and we'll talk about that too, okay? First things first, I wanna do an identity exercise. Who are you? Okay? First part of this, grab your notebooks, okay? I'd like you to draw a circle, and on the outside of the circle, right? Draw it big enough to be able to work inside and out, but the first thing, I want you to list the roles you have around the circle. Okay? Coach, administrator, operations manager, teacher, referee, whatever. List your roles, list everything around that circle.
Even outside of rugby.
Even outside of rugby, everything counts here. That's the other thing. Everything counts. Give it about 2 minutes. Show me your eyes when you feel like you're ready. How we doing? Feel like we got a good grasp on the roles that we currently hold, right? Okay. I'd like you to consider what's missing. What makes you you? What else is about you that's not captured by the roles you listed? Think about it for a second. Right? Think about it. What makes you who you are? And then inside of the first circle, I want you to list what isn't captured in number 1, the outside of the circle. Got a roles on the outside, inside the circle. Make it like a small word cloud, if you will, right? If you want to. When you feel like you've got a good grasp on that, I'd like you to trace that circle or make a circle around what you are inside of your first circle and kind of get a grasp on where that inner circle relates to the outer circle. Is it big? Is it small? Is it kind of in the middle? What does that look like? What are the advantages, or what do you think the advantages are of having your inner circle closer to your outer circle, closer to your roles? What's that indicate? It's not changing? Okay. Tell me a little bit more. Why do you think that?
Like here, like I put like gritty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gritty in all of these roles, and whether that role is there or not, I'm still going to be gritty.
Pardon. Okay. Anything else you got on there you want to share?
I have also loud.
I can relate with that. Okay. What else?
I think the inner one kind of dictates not maybe how good or bad you do your role, but how you do the role. Does that make sense?
Yep, perfect sense. If I could say it another way, the closer your inner circle is to the outer circle, the more authentic and genuine you are. And you're closer to the values and the traits that make you you in the roles that you do. That's mine. I did not understand this when I first did it, so I really effed it up, but I went back and did it with my mentor. And if I had done this when I first started coaching, my circle would probably be really tiny. Because I didn't know who I was, right? I have the blessing of age and experience and making a lot of mistakes over the years and doing those things, but if your circle is close to the outer circle, you're living within what you think you are. You say you are, you are who you say you are. That makes sense, right? You're living your authentic self. You're finding roles and opportunities that are in line with who you want to be and who you view yourself at. Is that a fair statement? If those of you, I don't know your circles, I haven't seen them, But if you're looking at you, what makes you you and what you do, is that a fair statement? Yeah, anyway, okay. This was the first, or keep in mind about your circle, about your traits, about your roles, right? We're gonna work through these, okay? I'm assuming coach is one of those roles, right? If you're in this room, okay, it could be referee as well, it could be player, anything. Coaching paradox. This was the first thing that blew my mind when I read this on Twitter from Cody. A little bit of background on him. He was the Canadian AFL national team head coach, and he was burnt out. And he left that role. And some things he had towards the end of his tenure were difficult for any coach to handle, not just Cody, right? And so he's switched his life's mission to go into the coaching, coaching wellness, coaching performance stuff. He coaches elite coaches essentially now. And his paradox, which he's put out there, is as a coach, it is both not about you and entirely about you. I'd like to hear what some of you think that. What does that mean to you when you read that?
I think when you say it's not about you, it's always about the kids or like who you are coaching. But then when it's entirely about you, that's like the reflection of you, right? It's like what you are teaching to them and like how they are acting as a player or what they're feeling. Like that's entirely about like what you did.
Yep, I agree. That's a good way to put it. Anybody else?
And like one of, I think, the most important things for me, coaching, is teaching selflessness. So just in general.
Yeah. This is a really interesting concept because rugby is a very humble sport. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Right. We never want to take credit. We're always about like, you're the man. No, you're the man. No, you're the man. No, you're the man. No, you're the woman. You're the woman. Or congrats, coach. We won that. No, you didn't. Right? No, you didn't. Okay. So on another level to think about is you may have prepared everybody, showed them the selflessness and everything, but you also play a role in that, play a part in that. And you have to be mature enough and self-aware enough that you've got to know when to step in and be okay with some of that. And then you got to know when to step back and just watch your players and watch your coaches and be like, well done, right? And that's a tough place to be because we all know the coaches who are self-deprecating, will never take credit for anything, will never get out front. And we know coaches whose egos won't even get in that door, right? This was a crazy thought to me when I first started working on this stuff and started reading through this and doing some of my own work, okay? Does this hit anybody in any different way?
I think as an athlete and someone who's been working underneath you, it's super interesting to kind of see that just because as an athlete we live and breathe off of the environment and the culture that you create, which is amazing because you do such a great job. But at points in time, there's sometimes when you'll get into your own head, and you can almost see that within the team, the players. So it's about the team and how well we do, but there's also a point where the team is also reflected by how well our coaches are, also there to support us. It's like we become one, and I think that's important to kind of understand.
Yeah. The flip side of that, Sean, is I struggle sometimes with fairness and respect between entities, and I think you guys have seen that sometimes I miss this mark. And I get so fucking pissed when other people don't play fair. And so much so that I take it personally. I'm like, ooh, no, prop sacks coming out. Let's go, right? And I'm working on that, and I hope you guys see that, right? As much as I can. So now, I'd like to talk about my favorite hard truths, okay? Now this was written a couple years ago, and there's since been some iterations and some more work on these, so they're a little rough. But I believe these are the 5 that relate the most to our level of coaching, right? Grassroots, collegiate, maybe some representative 7 stuff or whatever we said. First one is, you're not a coach. You coach, but you are not a coach. You cannot live and breathe and die off your identity of being a coach. The day that you, or an athlete, how many people stopped playing in the last 5 to 10 years? How many people struggled with, what do I do now? What does my workout look like? What's my diet look like? Oh man, where's my team? As a coach, as an athlete, it's what you do, it's not who you are, right? And if you can figure out who you are, get your circle closer to your roles, then you're a coach who's a great person, who's gritty, who's loud, who's humble, who's kind, who's honest, right? You bring your best qualities and traits to being a coach. And if you stopped being a coach and all of a sudden that went away, you're still all those things. You are still you, right? That could be a struggle. I know a couple of athletes and friends of mine we've had this talk about identity and or injuries happen and they're like, what the fuck do I do now? What do I do? Rugby is all I have, right? And as coaches, as administrators, as referees, a lot of us are in that same position too. You know, who's taking a break from the game? What'd you feel like when you took that break? Alec, would you mind sharing?
Yeah, sad leaving the game. Hopeful to get back soon, but understanding barriers. Yeah.
Barriers or boundaries?
Boundaries, yeah.
Chalking your field, saying what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. That's a good point. That's a great point. Anybody else have anything to relate to this identity piece?
So I was a Marine. I am a Marine, but I was in the Marine Corps, and then I got sick, lost my kidneys, and I went from being a badass to on dialysis. And that took me like 6 years of just falling apart. So come to that realization that that's not, you can't, get yourself completely in that. You gotta find your center like you're talking about.
Yeah. As a fellow veteran, I can relate to that, losing that community, losing that title, the positional power, the rank, right? The benefits that we enjoy. And to be truthful, the reason I'm in rugby is because
Thank you both for your service, by the way.
I bet we both do in a heartbeat again. But you're welcome. Thanks for saying that. The next hardest truth is your fiercest battle with yourself. You're your toughest critic. You're the one that's going to be out there flipping the burgers, selling the t-shirts, making sure the kids are registered, making sure the referee's there on time, the trainer's there and everything, right? You got to navigate that emotional toll, right? How many coaches, when you say you had your best coach, do you ever say man, we fucking won everything? Or were you like, they were a good coach because they were there. They made sure we were taken care of. They did everything. That's a toll. Who's been in that role and feels like you're propping up your team, or as a captain of your own team too, as an athlete? That's tough. Would you agree with this statement? Yeah, it's a hard truth. Oh, sorry, I can't see shit now. Next one is, you don't possess the God particle. Because we're flipping the burgers, we're the only ones that know where the design work is. We run the social media, we're blowing the whistle, we're registering the kids, we're the ones in control. But we've got to be able to let that go. We've got to be able to trust other people. we've got to be able to let some things fail and not go maybe the way we wanted it to do, or maybe the way we wanted it to go, in order for us to stay in the game. We have to spread the wealth across the entirety of our community. If we don't, there was a woman in Marfa who passed away a few years ago, and Marfa is still struggling to catch up with all the information and institutional knowledge that she left with. That's at a GU level. Imagine a club who's just reliant on someone like us. If we're able to give that up and we say, hey, Pipes, can you take over mental skills? Davis, you take lineouts, and take operations. We free each other up. We have lanes, but we pick each other up because we see each other, whatever, right? This particular piece has helped me build a philosophy that any event or team I coach or whatever you want to say I do, I let the people do what they do. I want the coaches to be able to coach. I want the trainers to be able to take care of the athletes. I want the athletes to walk in, grab their kit, go to the pitch, and do their thing. I want the CEO to not complain about the budget, but I'll try there. But that's my philosophy, is to take care of the things and get the right people in places so we can all do our jobs and then enjoy that success. That's a really hard thing to do for a lot of us. Do you know someone who might fit that close to like holding on to the reins a bit too tight? Yeah. I'm guilty of it. Seth, you're looking at me like I don't do it, but yes, I've been guilty of it. I believe this is the last one. We do 5, right? Nope, we got one more. 4. Every word counts. How many coaches have their own isn't? Okay? Everything you say is watched, it's scrutinized, it's evaluated. It's, in this day and age, we have a lot of differences, both in learning differences, neurodivergence, or neurotypical folks, and we all listen and hear and take things at different levels, and it's a tough situation to navigate. And as the head coach, you are out there. You're the one in the middle of the huddle waving a sword around. You're the one on the sideline screaming. They only hear you screaming. They don't hear that you're telling your team to keep fighting. They don't hear the context. They just hear your voice and the boomingness of it. Has anybody dealt with stuff like this?
For me, it's my facial expressions. Like everyone can read my face, like there's nothing, it's like I say I'm fine, but I would say to my face I'm not fine. So I think kids can read that in a heartbeat. When you're saying like, no, it's good. It's not good.
Really, this?
Yeah. So.
I have an angry face, but
Yeah.
really I'm just like hoping nobody calls on me.
I have a resting bitch face, and so.
Okay. I believe this is the last one. Should be green slide. Yes. Okay. Nowadays, tactics don't matter. It doesn't matter what system you run. It doesn't matter what attack you run, how much you play defense, if you miss tackles or you don't. All that matters is that your team is connected and prepared. Everything we're learning here, we're all walking away with this with so much information. You're going to go back and put in 3 things, I think. One of those things is team cohesion, and how you prepare your team to connect is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle. Kind of an interesting, funny story. I was the All Black Sevens liaison officer for a long time. And at the beginning of my time with them, I went to a U19 practice for my club in San Diego, and there were 4 kids. And on the U19 team, the U16s had a good team or whatever, and it was sevens, and I was a prop. And all I did was run lines with me and 4 kids for 2 hours. I was so tired, so gassed. And they were like, would you coach us? And I'm like, okay, if you bring 1 kid apiece, we get 8 next practice, I'll coach. There was fucking 15 kids at the next one. And all of a sudden, Coach Snacks was born. And I had no clue what to do. I was a prop. I was a 15th prop. And so I made the brilliant decision, either don't know why, but I reached out to Gordon Titchens, Sir Gordon Titchens. I said, Titch, I got appointed the sevens coach. I have no idea what to do. What should I do? And he said three things. He said, congratulations, there's nobody better. If they're fit, they'll do whatever you want and just have fun and connect with them. And I was like, that's it? Like, that's the goal, like make them fit and make them stay together. And I didn't believe it at the time, but now I'm a firm believer that cohesion and culture and all the words that we use, that's the magic potion to get a team to perform. Right, that's it. You can have the ugliest passes in the world, you can make all the shoestring tackles and not be in great position, and you can win every game. As long as people are connected and they're willing to go to the ends of the earth for folks. Right? It really doesn't matter what you do. As long as you have a plan too. You gotta have a plan. Let's admit that. What we're starting to look at is a change or a shift in what they're calling the head coach of the future. Okay? Every coach, and I'll go through these a little bit, they're kind of vague, but identifies as a high performance knowledge worker. You know how not to kill someone. You know that you shouldn't be tackling for 2 hours straight. You know that hydration is key, nutrition, sleep is important. You have enough knowledge to get kids or players to be moving forward, right? And in a safe manner. Okay? And how many people right now have kids in their program that want to play at the next level? Right? We all have to have a little bit of knowledge how to connect with the next level, how to get them to play a little bit better, and do so on and so forth. Coach of the future logs less hours at the facility and protects their time. They chalk their boundaries. They chalk their field. They set the barriers. They say, I'm going to be at practice from 6 to 8 p.m. and then I'm going home. If there's an emergency, call me. If not, you guys are good. Right? Rugby's not life or death. Sometimes. The next one is we're emotionally agile. Emotionally intelligent. We understand our environments. We know when there's a disturbance in the force, right? Because how many times have I like, something's wrong with the environment, energy's low. We're not talking. So we gotta get this up, we gotta do this, let's have some fun, let's stop, play a game, do whatever. Claims their identity devoid of results. I am Sean Lindersmith, and whether I win another rugby game or not, that's who I'm gonna be. Snacks, I'm snacks, but let's be honest, right? I'm gonna be me, you're gonna be you. No matter if you win 100,000 rugby games or you lose every single game, you can still be a great coach. I really struggled with that concept. Before I went to Minnesota, or actually at Minnesota, we had a spell where we freaking won one game. And people were like, you're a great coach. And I was like, how the fuck am I a great coach? I've won one game with you guys. I can't get you across that line. It turns out I just needed to realize who I was and say, I don't care about results. All I care about is you giving me everything you got because I'll give you everything I got. And we've kind of done this, which was kind of cool. As a masterful team builder, particularly support staff. I can't coach attack, defense, lineouts, scrums, kicking all by myself. I just can't. I can't help with schedules, I can't get transportation going. I need to rely on other folks, and you should too. Get more people involved. It's called a community for a reason. Many hands make light work. Bring people in, teach them. You teach them how to do a particular role, they get proficient at it, you can move on to a bigger project or maybe something of a dream project or a lofty goal. Right? Instead of being like, oh, we're just keeping the fields going, we're just keeping the lights on. Because you only have a 5-person board. Bring in some ex-players, bring in a couple parents who are real go-getters. Get them involved, and all of a sudden, things free up and you're able to do things like social media. You're able to do things like try rugby days or parent breakfasts on Fridays, some of the other stuff that we've been able to put in play because I'm not having to do everything. This one was a huge challenge for me, and I also had to put this into some words, but we're okay changing our mind when better information comes. There's a couple terms. Anchor, you're anchored to an idea, you're in an echo chamber, right? How many people have experienced that where like, we only think there's one way or two ways of doing things because that's what we're being told, that's what we believe. And anybody that we try to bring another idea to, they're adverse to that change. I mean, rugby's right with that, isn't it? That's really hard sometimes. I would encourage you to seek out really good info and say, fuck it and try things more often. Gamble in training. Try the move. Do the fun play. Play the game, right? Guys bring you a crazy line out play. All right, let's do it. You want to kick? Let's practice it. Try it. It's a lot better than holding on to a smaller world or smaller view of what we could do, right? We're trying to create an environment in Minnesota where everybody in the environment is unafraid and fearless to be creative, like, and just try shit. Like we even have, we brought CJ in to teach Aussie rules kicking, and this kid is just like showing kicks that are just going every which way. And for the longest time, I was like, this is kind of, I don't know. But then Ben Withy kicked a grubber that curved the other day, our tight end prop. Yeah, right to the middle. Picked it up, started it down. And I went, okay. All right. But I thought kicking was communist for years. I thought it was a communist idea. I didn't believe in it. And it comes from a kid who missed an extra point in high school that we would have went to the CIF state finals. And he missed it. So it kind of pissed me off. That was a long time ago. But now I believe in kicking. Now I believe, like, you guys want to attack? Go ahead. Go for it. And I believe you should change your mind if you're presented with something better. The role of the 9. We talked about this last night in my defense presentation. We don't put the 9, right? Alec was there. I was there. We don't put the 9 with the other 9 on the scrum anymore. We put them behind the scrum and let them be like a middle linebacker. And it was a thought-provoking experiment last night, wasn't it, fellas? Right? People were like, well, Alec brought out the rule book. And I was like, okay, that's a win. You got a referee thinking. This one right here, shares and delegates with context. I'm terrible at this. Sometimes I have the idea, coaches are going one way, and the players go, what are we doing? And it's like, oh, sorry, I need to get better at stopping and explaining things. I'm more of a let's get off the cliff and just keep playing and figure it out kind of coach sometimes. We need to be better with the why. Why are we doing this? What is this going to help us do? Where does this fit in the grand scheme of our culture, of our game plan, or whatever that piece particularly fits in? New coach is brave. 2 words, fuck it. Let's do it. Just try it. No one cares, right? Like, there's only one World Cup winner. There's only one state champion. But if you, in the process of trying to get into that championship, pulled off some miraculous stuff because your players are fearless and they're just like, we tried it, coach, check it out, it almost worked, and they're stoked about it, that's a huge win. Only one person could be a winner. But not many people have the courage to try to win in a creative manner on their terms. Okay? This is my favorite one right here. And this is what I encourage you. Steal everything. Steal fucking everything. Take it, put it in your context, throw it in your team environment and see what happens, and then let me know. I'd love to know how things go. I'm a rugby nerd. I love to hear how things go. Constantly seeking feedback. Steal some more, listen to podcasts, try things, go out of your way, ask coaches, tell them you're stealing it. It's okay. Every coach does it in the high performance world. Every single coach. For the longest time on the men's World Series, every team was trying to copy New Zealand. Because Titch had a lock on fitness and a lock on nutrition. They won a lot of tournaments. They started stealing his ideas. The men's series raised up to a level where now almost any team in the top 10 could win the tournament any weekend. Right? The women's game is getting much better too. The top 6 to 8 teams are probably in that range at this point. It used to be just like the top 4. But the game is evolving because they're watching each other at training. The World Series trains on the same field next to each other. They eat in the same chow hall. They stay together for a week. And they get to learn and see and do all these things. Spain beat New Zealand. And the New Zealand analysts had worked with them like 2 months before, right, on the men's World Series. It was hilarious to watch. Although terrible because I was in the team environment at the time, but it was like, wow, you helped them out, Chief? And he was like, yeah, whoops. You know? Lastly, we build connection over cost. I'm interpreting this one as we're in a team environment. Your experience and my experience matter. And if we are having a terrible experience, we should change that so we have a really good experience. If we're too focused on winning, we should probably pull back from that. If we are too focused on appearance or I don't know what else you can focus on, pull back from it, change it, and move it. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Do you find yourselves noticing any of these adaptations or changes in your environments or in your thought processes or anything you're reading? Yeah, Jen.
Having started coaching with high school boys first and then moving into collegiate women, the sharing and delegating with context was fairly significant.
Yeah.
As a player and a female, like I want to know everything and be successful before I even do the drill.
Yeah.
And then coaching high school boys, like they're just running around ready to go. They didn't even care what the rules were.
Yeah.
So learning how to explain like the importance of what we're doing in a different way than I would explain to a girl to get the same thing across.
Yeah. Yeah. If you coach men or boys, I highly suggest you go coach women for a season. You will learn a lot about your language and your cues and how you tailor messages. Women love to be part of the process. Am I right in saying that? They want to know the why. They want to be part of building whatever it is you're doing. Men we're robots, and it's your subject matter expert if you have the whistle and you say go this way and they just keep going. Right? Trying to change that, boys. Right? But I highly suggest you go coach women and you go coach sevens. Those are 2 environments where you have to adapt very fast, or you will be found out in a heartbeat that you need to make some changes. Right? My first coaching job was UCSD women's team. Holy shit. 28-year-old prop snacks who thought he was king shit was just cut down to size in every practice. I heard things that I didn't hear in the military, my 13-year military career, and I was like, "Phew, y'all are supposed to be my baby angels, but y'all are devils today." Right? They were crazy. Now, okay. I want to talk about some things we can do to enjoy coaching and stay in the game long term. First, professional development. We're here, so we're already open to the idea. Thank you for coming. This is my tip top. Okay. Create an individual development plan. Who's ever heard of an IDP? Okay. How many people have one on an Excel spreadsheet? It's got SMART goals and it's just 2-dimensional. Nobody? Okay. We'll get to that. Invest in your coach development. Come to seminars, do webinars, listen to podcasts. One thing that I've done this past year is I got a mentor. I went on Twitter and I was basically like, hey, I think the next step is getting a mentor. How do I do this? And like 5 people reached out, including the guy who wrote the book that we're talking about. Turns out he was really expensive. But my mentor, Phil, who's a defense coach, who's at Oxford Women's in England, has been a godsend for me. He challenges me every single time. What are you going to do? Remember the ICC game? J-Rob showed up a little dusty, and I was pissed because our select side players were away, and I was like, I expected J-Rob to be a leader. He's a senior on this team, and Phil looked at me and goes, "Did you fucking tell him?" I said, "Tell him what?" He goes, "Did you tell him you expected him to be a leader?" Well, not explicitly. You fucking need to tell him. And I was like, okay. And we came back around and I talked to J-Rob, and he's been J-Rob ever since, but he's a damn good leader. This one right here is my favorite because you get to see their aha moments. Invest in the youth. Invest in the youngins. Bring them to conferences, introduce them to your friends, show them that your networks, open doors for them. We all have pockets full of keys in the rugby world. Would you guys agree? We're never going to open all those doors for ourselves. Start opening them for them. Get them in the door, get them in the room, get them in the conversation, push them off cliffs. Davis, thanks for starting to coach this year. All right, Gabe, you too. Get them in the game. Show them what you love about this. Okay? I'm terrible at my slides, so I'm going to go back to create an individual development plan. It's basically a document that you keep that holds your goals, your strengths, your weaknesses. You can put whatever you want into it. I struggled with 2D. I struggle with typing things out. I will put off email and spreadsheets till the last freaking minute. I hate it. But my mentor, Phil, said, dude, do a visual one. What have you done? Where have you gone? What are you going to do? I actually only have one of my slides, but I have three. I have my coaching slide, all the teams I've coached. I have my all of my rugby jobs that I've held on another slide. And this is my professional development slide. And you can see, I'll walk you through this. I started being a level 100 coach and a player. Did the online thing. Then I got level 200. Then I started working in the sevens environment. I started coaching high school. We got Positive Coaching Alliance. As I continued on with the All Blacks and stuff, I got grandfathered into level 300 because I could speak the lingo and draw Sutcliffe. And he was like, wow, you should maybe be an educator someday, which I'm still waiting for that call. Hopefully USA Rugby tagged me in. But I went on and kept inadvertently stumbling across this path. I went to the Minnesota coaching session with Sir Graham Henry and Wayne Smith. That one session opened my eyes to how rugby could be played or how your connections could be. Hearing the story of the Chiefs and how they had $400,000 or $600,000 in debt and they had to like drive to or ride bikes to different parks to play, and then they won the Super title in 12 and 13. It was incredible, right? It's all because I decided to fly and go sleep on Tammy Cowan's couch, which I can't do now. But that led me into some years where I just sort of coached and did some rugby events and stuff. And then in 2018, I got picked to be a Premiership Rugby Scholar. Jess Burton and I are alumni from that. It's no longer a program right now, but hopefully it comes back. They flew us to England for a week. I learned from the Quins, London Irish, and Saracens. Who did you get to see?
Wasps, Tigers, and Saints.
Yeah. And all three of those clubs, I would assume the same for you, opened the doors and said, what do you want to know? And all the Americans were like, USA Rugby sucks and whole fire hole bullshit, level, whatever. And at the end of it, we were like, rugby journeys are so cool. It's like, it's not about this, man. It's about the journey, right? This took me into COVID timeframe, that 2019, right before COVID. I started consuming podcasts like madmen. Okay, I can listen to podcasts on a bike for an hour. I'll come home and put it on again and start taking notes if it's really good. If not, I just remember to pull one or two ideas. I started with Cody Royals where others won't. He had some really good talks with like Joe Dumars and a couple other athletes from like the NBA, the NFL. He did rugby league, he did AFL. He just started talking to all these high performers. Wrote a book about it, and then I got into the Magic Academy, which I've pushed a lot of times here. Rusty Earnshaw, he's talked to a lot of high performers. Andy Plymer's the Rugby Coaches Corner. I was just consuming these day after day after day in COVID. Finding Mastery with Michael Gervais. He's the guy, do you remember the guy who jumped from space?
Yeah.
The Red Bull thing, jump from space? That's his mental skills coach. That dude's mental skills coach. Works with Pete Carroll. They have something called Compete to Create, which is on my list of things to complete at some point. It's all about leadership, which is COVID then led me into talking performance with Jay Carter. He's a New Zealand national golf coach. He started a Facebook Live during COVID, and every Monday at 8 o'clock in New Zealand, he just popped on somebody and they would just start talking about it. Turned into a podcast. I got to this point right after COVID, and we were coming back, and I was like, I really want to be a good fucking coach. So I had met Grant Keenan, or Grunta as they call him, at the NDS, I believe in Baltimore. Can't remember if it was Baltimore or Denver. And Grunta and I had stayed in comms for a long time, and they did an accelerator coaching course over one summer, and I just hopped in the Crusaders course, and I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. They were like, here's everything. Here's our defense coach. Here's our attack coach. Here's our academy manager. Here's Scott Razor Robinson. Here's the dude who just does our kit. One day, Jack Goodhue's just sitting there and talking about how he wants a benevolent coach. He wants a coach that has a back and forth relationship. And I just sat there like, how the fuck do I find myself in this position? I mean, I paid for it, but still, like, it was really cool. Then this is Phil Llewellyn, coaches in England. Stopped playing because he got hurt, started coaching. Went on to do a lot of stuff with the RFU, went to Canada for a little bit, and then he did a defense webinar in COVID. I watched it, and then I started thinking like, well, that's really cool. I would love to do that. I consume defense. And then one day, they were talking about mentors on Twitter, and I just retweeted and said, I think this might be the next step in my career. I don't know how to do it. Phil and Cody and Andrew Brownhill, who's another sort of compatriot of Phil, has been on this show, all reached out to me on Twitter in a DM and was like, dude, you want to meet? You want to just sit on a Zoom? Let's hear what you want to do. And I was like, oh shit. So I got to interview 3 coaches, and Phil and I turned out to have sort of the best working relationship because he put the mirror up real fast and made me think. And I was like, okay, Phil, let's do this. And it's been a year, right? We've been working together. And then through him, I went back to the Crusaders coaches leadership program. Was in that first group. There was like 150 coaches from around the world. Slack channel, we now have a WhatsApp group. People are flying back and forth across the world to just see each other. And they're like, dude, Minnesota looks cool, can we come? I'm like, I don't know, maybe if you want to. So like some of them will come visit at some point, right? This is my path, right? Some of you may be still right here, and that's okay. But you can map out like, where do you want to consume info? Who do you want to talk to? Put together a list of 3 or 4 coaches, and then go fucking hit their DMs on Twitter and watch what happens. Right? Go hit them up on Twitter. They will hit you right back. Or maybe like a couple days if they're a really big coach. They're accessible. All these folks, I'm just some kid from Fontana who'd listen to podcasts and be like, oh, this guy's cool. Oh, this guy's cool. Hey, Rusty, do you think this is cool? And I tweet, yep, that's cool, Snacks. Hey, Snacks, can I coach in PR7s? I got from Rusty the other day. That was like a real big turning point for me. Like, oh shit, he's asking me to coach. Okay. I don't know if folks will hire him, but it'd be cool. So you could do your individual development plan however you want. You can even put like a inspo board, teams you want to coach. Mine is like Coast Guard Sevens program, Old Aztecs, SoCal, University of Minnesota, and then who knows what's next? Could it be the Eagles? Could it be a PR7s team? I don't know, but like, you see how you could make that progression on your own? And this is an easy way to do it. You just find pictures, throw it up on board. Yeah. Took me a while because I'm really like, I like to have my things and processes and in order, but it's helped me a lot. Team environment. To make it better, how many of you have assistant coaches? How many of you sat down with your assistant coaches and said, hey, this is what we want in the environment? How many of you said, I would like to be aligned? What does alignment mean? when I said that. Yes, ma'am. What does it mean?
Oh, sorry, I was supposed to do 5 minutes, that's what
5 minutes.
that wasn't yeah.
Not bad.
That's what so,
We're actually number
great,
4.
What does alignment mean to you?
environment,
Alignment.
alignment, everyone being together.
Ha! Same page.
Yeah.
And alignment of your values and your team goals, like your personal values.
You're not pulling against each other.
You're going in the same direction. Right? What do you think some non-negotiables could be?
Talking back to the coach.
Respect
Or the
for
ref.
not just the coach, anybody that's talking, right? Maybe
Yeah.
or the ref. What are some non-negotiables in our environment, guys?
Always give your 100%, even if you only have 80% that day.
Bring what you got. What else?
Communication.
We need you to communicate. That's a non-negotiable. What else, Pikes?
I just think back to my initial interview and all the questions you asked were about like my ethos. They're like really doing their read on like where do you stand on these things, how will you fit into this environment, more so than just looking at my resume.
Did we ask you the conflict question? How do you like to solve conflict?
Yes.
How do you like to solve conflict? That's a huge one. What kind of person are you when shit hits the fan? If you can't find alignment or if it stops being fun, change your goalposts. Change your goal. Change your direction. Change your coach, maybe. Or if it's them against you, you can leave. It's okay to leave. Now, do we ever want to find ourselves in us versus them? No.
Change yourself.
But things happen. People are shady. There's gamesmanship. There's backstabbing. It happens in environments. You probably had signs that the environment wasn't for you long before you left. Right? Okay? It's okay if you make a decision to walk away. Totally fine. Totally fine. You just are shifting to the right a little bit, and now you're going towards another set. You'll find your people. You will. Community. Okay, this is the last slide, I promise. Second to the last slide. I have resources after this. Okay? Realize that you have a network to engage and you're not alone. I've seen so many heads nod in this. Seen people all around this all weekend talk about how there's lots of themes and shared experiences and stuff and related experiences. You're not alone. There's 130 of us here at this conference. Every single one of them would love to talk rugby or hear you out or hear an idea, or you could ask them for an idea. We only have each other. And we're all better when we're all better. That makes sense. It's a snackism. Write it down. We all do better when we all do better. But whatever that is. What it is. Okay? If you feel burnt out, anxiety's up, you feel overwhelmed, you feel like you can't do stuff, you fucking hate going to practice, you fucking hate going to the office, please seek help. Please go start at a family member or a really good friend, and I hope they're mature enough to say, let's go talk to somebody together. Do not suffer those burdens alone. A burden shared is a burden halved. And if you need more resources, Amanda Huber, Snooki, has given a presentation on that. Okay, we need to be mindful of mental health. We can't keep fucking banging away at a steel wall. We've got to be able to pull back from it, regroup, and attack somewhere else and stay in the game. And remember why we're here. It's fun. It's a game. Keeps us connected to community. Challenges us. Enough on that? Anything else to add? Anybody? I love to leave people with resources or recommendations. The book that a lot of this is based off of is The Tough Stuff by Cody Royal. His podcast is Where Others Won't, and The Unfair Advantage. The Unfair Advantage is a subscription service, but they hit your inbox 3 times a week with a really good coaches, sports science type newsletter, and at least 1 podcast or 2 a month. that only subscription members get, and they're really good. They're very good. Coaches to consume here, Cody, obviously, and Alex Auerbach is his partner. They both put some really good stuff out on Twitter. And Aaron Walsh. Aaron Walsh is currently working as the mental skills coach for the Scottish national team, but was previously, or maybe still is, going to go back to the Chiefs in Super Rugby. He's got a great story of getting into the game from an unusual path and working on himself and sort of getting himself to where he needed to be and understanding who he was. And he throws everything on Twitter or LinkedIn. He's really good on LinkedIn too. And all three of these coaches will hit you back if you tweet at them or, hey, you got a recommendation or whatever. Any questions, anything before I got 4 minutes, I guess, 2 minutes, whatever it's called. How did that go? Is that okay? All right, I know that's different. We don't talk like that for each other. We good?
Yeah, we got 3 minutes off.
Oh, thanks. Okay, good. I'm around. I'm going to take the poll off tonight, have a few White Claws. If anybody wants to chat rugby and be silly, I don't care. Let's go have fun. If you want to talk more rugby, happy to do